Hello, friends, and welcome. This time for our game plan episode, we are going to talk about Roshan, particularly like setting up for Roshan and then the fights for Roshan, but more about the setup. I actually don't know what we've got submitted, so I don't know how good the fights will be around there. So this first game is a high Archon Nagas Iron game, and you said that there's going to be a Roshan fight around like the 29-minute mark, and we're going to look for that. But I want to ramble for a little bit just to set the stage for this video. So I'm just gonna like leave this at 2x speed. You guys can watch it while I talk. So for Roshan, the main thing we're thinking about is for setting up, because whether you're ahead or behind, Roshan is the land of throws. Okay, so coming over here, Roshan is this pit. There's lots of natural choke points. So like here and like the pit itself, and because of the vision mechanics of the pit, there's a high potential for throw. Other choke points are like here, choke point here, choke point here, choke point here. So this is where lots of like AoE spells can come into play. Very powerful. And it can work both ways. Like the team doing Roshan can have an advantage depending on the spell. So like, for example, in this game, there's actually a Tide Hunter, which is a great example. Tide Hunter with his massive AoEs are fantastic around Roshan. Same with like Enigma, Faceless Void. Those kind of heroes tend to have very strong fights around the Roche pit, whether they are the defending or offensive team. You feel like I messed up those words a little. But so that's something we got to be careful for. So when thinking about doing Roche, we want as many advantages in our favor as possible. So a couple are vision. Right now I look at this minimap, pretty dark. Now, we're not doing Roshan yet, so that's okay. But, for example, if I wanted to go to Roshan right now and I'm the Radiant team, it'd be pretty scary. I don't have any vision. Most important is to have vision in the Roshan area. So if you're the Radiant, you don't just want a defensive ward. And, like, this defensive ward's fine. You know, out here, or on the cliff is probably a little better. But you do want some deeper enemy vision so you can see them coming in to fight you. So not just here, because a lot of times people fight by smoking in. So here is good so that when the fight breaks out, like you have vision here where the fight is. But it can also be very nice if you have a deeper ward, somewhere here, back here, maybe even in their base if you've like pushed up that far before. It also does not hurt to have one on the other side of the map for reasons we'll get into in just a little bit. So vision is one, so you can see what's going on and be prepared. The other thing is that if the enemy can't fight you, you can kind of do things blindly, right? Now, if you're just way ahead, then things get a little weird, where you can just do whatever you want. So we're not gonna like think about that scenario. But in a closer game, kind of like this one, where it's about 1K, and we don't see anyone, but if a certain hero is what we're scared of, like say it's this Spectre who's like massive, if she's dead and everyone else is alive, I might still feel comfortable going into Roshan because of that one big hero. Other heroes that I might be scared of around Roshan are someone like Earthshaker. We mentioned the Tide, Enigma, Faceless Void, like those classic huge AoEs, right? Magnus, he's another one. If that is all I am scared of, and if I think, oh, I know that person's dead, I'm good to take the fight, then that's all I need, you know? So if I kill that person, then I'm good to go. I don't have to kill that person, though, if I know they can't show up at this Roche fight. So, for example, I'm scared of an Earthshaker, and that deep ward earlier I mentioned on the other half of the map, I see Earthshaker here. I see that he just respawned, and suddenly he shows here. I know he can't get there that fast. Maybe he TP'd to a tower and showed up. Suddenly I know, okay, maybe I can do this real quick, you know? Another case might be you just see heroes down here, and you've taken, kind of the towers like this Naga Sirens team has taken. There's no quick teleports, especially if you take this outpost, right? But even if they have the outpost, it's a 6-second teleport. It's not all that quick. So if you have some kind of vision on the enemy's half of the map, and then you see this hero you're scared of, or you see like multiple enemy heroes, you're scared of the whole team, you see 3 heroes down here, suddenly I can just walk into Roche. So these are 3 generic setups for Roshan. So now getting into it, we've kind of like set the stage a little bit. And I would say if you want more information on Roshan, one of the very first videos I did as part of the hard support guide talked about Roshan, but I was looking at it super rambly. So we might revisit this topic. There's a couple other Roche videos on the channel. You can just search them on the YouTube, the channel. And you can find them if you want more details. But anyways, let's get into the point of this video. So we're the Nog Siren. I'm looking at vision on our team. This ward is not too bad. It like gives you some vision here. Snapfire's kind of like giving more. So like this is more representative of the vision we're gonna have. And you can kind of tell it's like when we take the Roche fight, it's kind of useful to see this area, but we're not really gonna get much warning into if they're coming in from over here. Now, sometimes the enemy can set up over here. So it's still like useful to have, but like if possible, I would love another ward either on this cliff or out here. Now, you might be wondering about cliff wards. Let me go ahead and say this too. Even though this is more about warding, but it's very relevant for Roshan. There are two kinds of wards. There are wards that are hard to find and still provide vision, but maybe not the best vision, kind of like we're talking about, right? Like, this is kind of good, but like, we're kind of like blocked by trees. Then there is excellent vision, like on the cliffs mainly, but it's very common and people will come check it. Those kind of wards, when you know they're like obvious, you still can use when they have a purpose that is very short term, and that's why we're willing to lose them. The short term purpose is Roshan. So for a lot of Roche fights and setups, wars on cliffs, absolutely acceptable, especially if your team's willing to fight for them. If they don't fight for them, kind of defeats the point of those observers, which I know in a pub game, very hard to coordinate your team to do so. But for this Naga Sirens team, let's see the supports. It doesn't look like they have another observer. This one placed relatively recently, though, I can tell, like within the last minute. So if that had been on this cliff and the team played around here, I think that'd be good. Now, looking at ultimates, we have Tide Ravage in about a minute, so I don't want to do Roche till then. I want as many power points or like power abilities to line up. So like this quick mini attempt, very scary. So let's talk about all the reasons I just mentioned, right? A quick recap. And actually one I didn't mention, which is that we want to be stronger than the enemy team. I guess that kind of goes without saying, but that can take its form in many ways. The example I gave was like, oh, we've killed a hero or a couple heroes, right? But there's also, of course, just having our abilities and our cooldowns. So if you had BKB on cooldown, for example, I mean, you're a Naga Siren, you probably don't. But other heroes will have BKB, and you just used that recently. I don't have BKB, kind of scary to do Roshan, because, like, I might need to fight for it. Tidehunter, huge part of our team fight ult. He doesn't have this for 50 seconds. Snapfire does have her ult actually pretty soon, so that part's good. Quap, 30 seconds, So I'm feeling a little iffy about this, even just from our team's perspective of, like, what abilities we have. Now, will we need those? I'm not sure. I don't know if they're contesting, because I don't see anyone on this mini-map right now. It's very scary. Now, I think you leave. I took a very quick look at this game. Okay, so you are leaving now. This is a very good call because you don't want to do this. It's very scary. Now, maybe you know that these stuff are on cooldowns. If you're like me, you probably just have a rough feeling. And like, oh, it's, coming up soon. I better be careful. So in my mind, they have everything. We have everything. And they have very powerful team fight around Roshan. They have the Warlock ult and Fatal Bonds, and then the Spectre Haunt. And then, of course, like Doom and Dawnbreaker are also strong team fighters, and then Hoodwink throwing out all the annoying stuff. So I don't feel we are a stronger team fight team around Roche Pit. So I'd probably even say they're a little stronger. I definitely want to respect them when attempting Roshan. Okay, so I see one hero mid, one hero bottom. Okay, we're starting to get information for what we want to do. It's a little scary, kind of like you're kind of off on your own a bit. I know now your team's kind of closer, but for a bit you were like here and your team's here. That's actually kind of like far enough, right? If you get blink doomed, you're probably dead before anyone else can show up. So be a little careful of that. No real need to risk that, especially when you have all these illusions. Team should really cap this outpost. There we go. All right. Okay, so I still haven't seen too many heroes, and looks like your team is about to attempt Roche again. All right, so this is still filling me with some fear. Now, your team did push up into this area, and that makes me glad. It makes me know, like, okay, they're not up here, but it could be, like, right here. And so at any moment, they could be coming over, and we won't really know. We saw one hero down here. The fact that they're not still pushing makes me think they're not all down there. And this is high Archon. I kind of think this is close enough to where people should start respecting Roche. I mean, not enough. The first Roche attempt is like 29 minutes, So, like, I know it's not the best, but I think people are more aware of these kind of like team fight objectives. So I'm not going to say just because I don't see him here now doesn't mean that they're not thinking about Roshan just like I am. So I think this is iffy. If you want to do this for whatever reason, you must have a smoke breaker. So this would help a lot if you had this observer. I'm saying you just as your team. I know it's not like your responsibility as the Naga, but like an observer up here to spot something, and Dark Willow probably needs to die by like standing over here, and like standing at this tree and looking down is good, and then force staff herself and like Shadow Realm away to try to survive. Quap could also potentially be the smoke breaker, but she's a bit more valuable than a Dark Willow, so we kind of don't want her to die. Especially if she had this Linken's, I'd feel a lot better. Looks like she's actually pretty poor for this game. Not sure what happened there, but she's typically decent because she has the blink, but her damage is also kind of decent, so you kind of want her in the Roche pit. Snapfire, I want her in the back because of the Mortimer's Kisses, and then Tidehunter can be with me because he's got Gush, and I want him to be involved. Like, when they all come jumping into the pit, I want the Ravage, like, front and center. So our team's kind of just walking in. Dark Willow is kind of up here. Okay, so this is immediate get out. So your team did not check vision before just walking in here, even though you guys kind of had control of here first. Dark Willow had not finished, so she's doing this now, and she sees an observer. I think your whole team should get out right now. Actually, at the same time, you're kind of seeing Spectre. I'm now realizing it's Spectre, though, because on the minimap I just saw Brown, and I was like, oh, one hero's top. At least that helps. No, this is Spectre. She doesn't count. She has Haunt. So 4 enemy heroes are missing, and the 5th is global. So the whole enemy team could be showing up. How will they know to show up? They had an observer. So everyone should be full-on retreat right now, and all stand around. Actually, I guess you have 2 options. One, back up this Dark Willow, because she is jump target number 1. She's under vision, killing the ward right now, furthest up. So if they were going to jump anyone and kill her, Dark Willow would be the first step, potentially. The more likely option, though, is like they jump straight into Roshan because they saw you all doing it, so they might go for that. So for your team, I would all fall back and prepare for this. I don't feel strong enough to just risk a 5-on-5. I'd prepare to take like a more informed 5-on-5, and with no vision of the enemy team, that's literally not possible. So falling back to here, I think would be good. Your team's still kind of going for this. Snapfire's in the pit. Tide's out here. And she's kind of in the pit because she was using a little shredder. Snapfires need to adjust for this. Use it and then get out, especially like if you have your ultimate. So here we are. We're starting the fight. I see Doom jumping in. He's got his BKB going. Tide is going to be ready for Blink Ravage, but I mean, he could just be here and not need to blink, you know? Now, it might be risking getting Doom, so maybe that's why he's back here. But if he blink and gets the Ravage off, and let's say like Snapfire is the one that gets doomed or something, I mean, you're losing a lot of damage for not having Mortimers. So, I don't know. Team positioning, you're kind of in... I mean, I don't think you should be here as a team. So, like, in that sense, I think it's all off in the positioning. But if we were to take a Roche fight intentionally, you're in the right spot. Quap's kind of in the right spot. Dark Willow is kind of in the right spot. Snapfire and Tide's like making me iffy. Let's zoom out a little bit. I can't do it from player view. You know what? Let's forget the player view. Okay. So we're kind of seeing what happens when there's a Spectre. Spectre's like a special case for all team fights, right? She immediately provides vision everywhere. So suddenly their team sees everything they need to see. Tide, what, he got bashed? No, he ravaged. I just missed that while trying to change everything. So he's bashed. Where the heck are you? Using illusions or something? Hold on, I lost track. Okay, I was fiddling around with the zoom out. Let's go back. All right, so here we are. We're getting ready, right? Doing this. Everyone sets up. Okay, so here we are, backed up so that we're not fiddling around and missing everything going on. Okay, so I see Doom blink in, BKB'd. He's spotting vision in the pit. Your team still doesn't know where anyone is because you don't have a smoke breaker standing out somewhere here to like interrupt the enemy team. So here's the Dawnbreaker ult. Blind Ravage from Tide. This is kind of a misplay since, I mean, Doom is clearly BKB'd. Potentially the enemy team is like walking in smoke, right? And the Ravage is going to hit them. But without that information, because you don't have a smoke breaker, like he's blindly ravaging. So that's kind of a misplay on him. We're not gonna worry too much about that. You got doomed. I'm not surprised. I mean, they knew you were in there. All right, so this is where your team should be retreating, right? This is a bad start for you, but they've also committed a lot. So technically, if you're able to retreat and regroup, you might be able to pull something together, but especially as you lose people and everyone is like throwing out spells, yeah, not feeling so strongly about it anymore. For this to disengage, you just needed to lose Doom, get rid of the effects. But this is kind of why, like, you want to retreat sooner. And I could tell, like, once that observer dies, like, if they're going to do something, they're going to do something, like, it's coming, you know? They saw you walk into Roche, so they have a time limit. They're coming. So that's why you just back off and you wait. And if they don't show up for, like, 20 seconds, I don't know what they were doing, you know? And we may not be able to walk back into Roche, but we just kind of, like, reset. Nothing lost, you know? They didn't get anything, we didn't get anything. But maybe now we can smoke and try to jump them as they like disperse from their smoke. You know, that happens all the time in pubs. So I would say your team had the information to get out, just didn't quite react. Actually, yeah, they're kind of staying long, kind of scattered. Maybe you're going to carry this fight, actually. Ooh, you're kind of doing it. Where's Spectre? She must be roshing. Be in here? The heck? She's just farming. All right, it kind of worked out for your team, actually, huh? Well, let's just say something though. So it worked out, but I don't think it was around the Roche fight, right? It worked out because you are at the top of the net worth. You got doomed, but managed to like back off. You had the heart, and then they like fought you one-on-one, right? Dawnbreaker chased too hard. Two supports chased. I guess they didn't chase. They tried to run away, and you just like killed them. I don't know where Spectre went. She just left, and the team kept going. So I'd say they made a mistake. I think their Roche fight was really good, relatively. But then they overextended, just kind of like went too hard. I think they all should have just done Roche after they won. Like they killed like 3 of you, right? And then they chased too hard for the Naga without everyone. I think they should have just killed Roche, and they would have been really happy. So in the end, this did still work out in your favor, but I would say it's not because your team made like excellent choices. It was just like, yeah, it's just how pubs go, right? Like, we made a mistake, they capitalized and then made a mistake, and now we get Roche, you know? So you will win this game, but if your team, I know you can't control your team, but let's say like this happens in all your games without you trying to direct your team at all. Like it's always just going to be a toss-up, whether the enemy team wipes you and then takes Roche, or they wipe you and they overextend and then you finally get Roche, right? We want to take more control into ourselves as the core player, Naga Siren. If you don't do Roche, the rest of your team can't do it. So you can kind of dictate this a little bit, right? You can say like, before we do Roche, like I really want like finish dewarding this area, get up a ward here. Hey, Dark Willow, can you like stand here? You know, something like that. You don't want to be too micromanagey, but it depends on the game. You know, some games you can feel like you can communicate more or not. If you have to like keep it very minimal, just say like, I don't want to do Roche until we see more of them. Or like, we need to pick off and better vision before we can do Roche. You know, that's pretty inoffensive and should like set the tone for what you're looking for to do Roche. This was kind of a blind Roche into like a scary lineup. So like, you know, and hopefully that makes sense. Let's take a look at some other Roche examples. All right, this time we're watching a TA player. To be honest, I don't play TA. I do know that pretty much as soon as you max meld, it's possible to do Roche, even without a Deso. You just do like a double meld, especially once you have Deso. You can kind of do it whenever, even without the double meld trick, though that will help. The thing is that TA is not a great solo Rocher. She has like tons of damage, but she's actually quite fragile as a hero, especially once Refraction gets broken. So TA can do Roche very early, but she needs a team to tank it for her, really. She can take a couple shots because of Roshan, or sorry, because of Refraction, but like you kind of need someone to do it. This is a little iffy. I'd say you have an Ogre at least, and you have like, you know, OD can tank a couple shots. OD's actually also pretty good at Roche with Arcane Orb now working on Roshan again. So I'd say anytime you win a fight, your team can do Roche as long as you have enough heroes alive. And I'd say Medusa probably not going to participate at this phase too much. Huskar is a little scary. Maybe he's the one you're killing, and then you could do it. Looks like 2130. You say you're going to win a good fight, but then you kind of don't do anything with it. Which sounds like a good analysis already, but this is just for the people, you know. See that? So I'd say we got tons of heroes up here. That's looking good. We killed the Huskar, kill Medusa. All right, yeah, I'm totally on board with your analysis right now. I'd say that was a good team fight. You even had 4 heroes up here, right? So I was saying, oh, we need to tank Roche for the TA damage. If you split the damage between 4 heroes, like, you know, there you go. You have a way to tank it. So yeah, I'd say your team definitely could have just walked into Roche, even though you don't have great vision, right? If we look at the mini-map, you know, nothing really on the enemy's half of the map, but I know we just killed 2 heroes, and the nice thing is we killed them right by Roche, so by the time you walk into the pit, you still have, like, at least 20 seconds probably on both those heroes, and maybe a little less for the Huskar, right? But if we think about them TPing in, so Huskar's got to respawn, TP, and then walk over. That is going to give you about 20-25 seconds to kill Roche. That is enough time. Now, you do have to be, you know, a little worried if the fight went, like, if it was a tough fight, you might have to be scared of, like, oh, they might have some long-range spells to, like, throw out nukes and stuff and, like, slow us. But Crystal Maiden's not really long range. Arrow could be a little annoying, but Drow got pretty low in that fight too, so I really wouldn't expect him to do much. So I think your analysis is on point for this. I do think you won that fight. Looks like, you said it too, like, you just kind of AFK went to farm. Your team is choosing to, like, dive harder a bit. Yeah, we're gonna regret this a little bit, huh? CM for OD, probably not worth it. So I think there's a couple things here. And for anyone watching Flaming, right? This is a Herald game. He analyzed it himself as his first couple TA games. Don't be too harsh. You know, it's a learning experience for all of us. That's what this is for. So TA, definitely, since you're new to the hero, know that you have the ability to do Roshan right now. You just need some people to, like, tank it for you. These 2 would be enough. You know, just these 2 supports alone. Now, as long as your team wants to, like, cohesively do something, that is, like, better than trying to force something on your own. So if your team was like, let's push top, you know, I would understand if you couldn't get them to do Roche and you just came here with them. That's very common in Herald. But for the, like, Herald audience then, or, like, even any of the 1 through 3K, I would say many people miss the opportunities for Roche. Like in that last example I said, like, Tide, Naga, Snapfire, tons of negative armor. You can do Roche pretty early. At least before 29 minutes anyways. But this is a Herald game. This would actually be a decent timing. Huskar maybe should have taken Roche earlier than this, but it's you know, I wouldn't expect it too much from a Herald game. So I would say this is a really nice time. If your team took Roshan right now, I'd be very impressed. Don't think you do, though, so let's jump to your next time. All right, so we got some replay bugs going on here, but looks like you're going to win, or you tell me you're going to win another fight around here. Yo, Techies going in. Oh, BKB and Herald, guys. I'm telling you, the game skill always goes up. For people saying, like, Heralds are, you know, so bad, they never do, like, basic stuff. You know, you got people doing some of the right stuff. Definitely not everyone's doing the right stuff, but, like, the skill level's always improving. All right, that's not a bad fight. They're really even pushing it, too. I'd say it's... Yeah, I mean... There's Medusa. The others are low. I'd say I agree with you. This is another... All right, so this is a little... I shouldn't talk about this. We're only here for Roshan. I think your team just went a little too far on this. I think definitely after you get these 2 kills, you could back off and do Roshan. You just need your, like, Ogre to connect with you. You kind of... Maybe you started TPing right before this OD died, or maybe did it after. These are killable heroes. I would, you know... I would, like, sit invis around here, and I bet Drow, there's, like, a decent chance Drow walks up. If she doesn't, you can just, like, farm this triangle. You're TPing back to defend, but actually, so this is actually opening up for their team to do Roshan. Drow is actually, like, fine at Roche. Mirana with the arrow gives her team lots of time to hit. If you, as a TA, TP away and OD's dead, I don't even know who's supposed to be the 3rd core. Is it Ogre? Or Techies? No, this is support. I guess it's the Coddle, but I feel like where's his money? I don't know. I mean, what's to stop them from doing Rosh? You know, this Coddle's almost dead. He's kind of low on mana, but he's a Coddle. You know, so he might keep blasting things out and stop them, but maybe he just goes back, and you just showed you TP'd here, and Ogre clearly wasn't participating in that last fight, so Ogre might just continue farming up here. They could actually possibly just walk in and Rosh. Will they? I don't know. But if I was their team, and like I kind of feel you're behind, they need to capitalize on some stuff, take a little bit of risk. Maybe not too much, but I think they could actually do Roshan here. Okay, there you go. Coddle's dead too. You just showed bottom. I would just walk into Rosh if I was Drow with her team. So, little bonus tip there for the enemy team. This one's short, but I think your analysis is pretty solid. So I don't think we need to talk into it too much further, and hopefully what we did say is already helpful for anyone else watching. All right, next, this comes from an RD2L game. Looks like your team is pretty ahead. You are the Radiant 17K. So around 44 minutes, there's going to be a Rosh fight. So we're going to start back here just to get some context. So your team is pushing up. Medusa's back here. That's kind of dicey. I don't know, guys. Not easy for Medusa to join a team fight up here. So yeah, I might want to be a little careful about that. I can get too punished for it though, so it's fine. Let's see, mid, I see two heroes here. We're waiting for the next Rosh. Venge has to Wave of Terror. Probably just wait out here and just keep throwing in spirits. It's like kind of a weird TP. Definitely want these up so you can rotate around for any big fights here. Vision-wise, your vision is excellent top. Okay, and we just kind of walk in. So, first, enemy team has Faceless Void and Invoker. Now, I don't know if Invoker did the build. Okay, he did. So, the Wombo combo, super powerful this game. You know, you got the Chrono into the Cataclysm, and any other Invoker spells, right? Plus the Skywrath ult. You know, there is tons of damage coming out. You do have a Venge. You could possibly swap someone out, but it doesn't mean she's going to die, you know? So whoever gets caught in the Chrono is going to die, minus whoever Venge, you know, whoever's been nicest to the Vengeful Spirit. It should be the Medusa, you know, in terms of who's most important. If it's the pub, it's whoever's been nicest, right? Your vision is good. If they smoke, though, what does this mean for you, right? If they don't put an observer up here or a sentry, and they just walk through this, you'll have no notification. So someone on your team wants to be up there breaking that vision. Who? Your team, this is a bit of a draft issue. No one on your team really wants to do this. Venge, backline support, who wants to swap save, right? So she can't be up here being caught. Zeus, you know, backline. He's mid, but he's like still backline. Phoenix doesn't want to get caught, wants to like live and ult. So I kind of feel like Pudge wants to be the smoke breaker, and Medusa's just gonna have to do Rosh a little slower without anyone tanking. Yeah, I don't know. You could also have Phoenix do it and just hope that Phoenix can dive away in time. But Phoenix is also kind of important to the defending this. Or sorry, to the team fight. So although your vision's good, like no one's bringing the smoke, and that's kind of possibly a downfall of yours. We haven't seen anyone too much. We saw a couple heroes mid, but besides that, haven't seen more than that. These, you know, half duration Fort Spirits could have traveled from the mid lane down here, so those don't really tell us that much. I think the enemy, and this is RD2L, I think you said like mostly everyone's ancient around there, so it's definitely high enough for everyone to be aware of this as an objective. It looks like your team, this is a pretty early Rosh, so maybe you would catch the enemy off guard, and that's what you're going for. But I'd say it's still pretty risky with this Wombo combo, so let's see. Enemy still not showing up. Okay, so like Venge kind of standing here to break smoke. Okay, you know what? Venge does have Nether Swap and the Ags. I'd kind of be okay if Venge is also the smoke breaker. Zeus ult to scout everyone, and they are all together. So actually this is giving me a bit more confidence to possibly finish Rosh. But all right. Actually, you should have been able to do this. Two things would have allowed you to do this. One, Pudge needs to tank Roche so that Medusa's not hit. Medusa's damage is way more important. Roche would actually be dead, except Medusa got bashed a couple times. So there's that. Two, Phoenix or Venge, like one of them, Smokebreaker, right? And that would have changed all of this. Because Faceless Void was able to just jump in here. But if we actually just go to their perspective, right? So if you have like a support standing back here right now, smoke breaks like right around here. And suddenly you've got tons of information. Your wards are starting to come into effect. You would see 3 heroes right now, you know? This is actually a doable Roche because of that. The Zeus ult scouting him over here. I thought you could do this. And it looks like you could have if she just hadn't been bashed and you had someone breaking smokes. This would not happen because Faceless Void would be here. He wouldn't feel comfortable like walking all the way through that last support. You know, hopefully. Let's see. He tried to swap Faceless Void out. So you should probably just swap your Medusa out. Pudge did save her. Alright. You know what? All in all, your team actually still did pretty, like, that went a lot better than expected. I definitely thought we'd have issues. You lost the Aegis, and Faceless Void took it. But, you know, better than expected, I gotta say. So, I guess we don't have to go too much further than that. But this could have worked out. You just missed a couple pieces. You need 1 or 2 heroes to like scatter, die, and then immediately buy back and TP in here. Or if you don't have outposts, you know, these towers, these aren't as great because it takes a little longer to get back here, even though it's a faster TP. It kind of depends on your hero, actually. So whatever. Point is, you have multiple teleports, so one of the supports should just straight up die for vision. Like Phoenix or Revenge. I'm obviously not saying just feed, but like you risk your life so that they throw spells on you and pop BKBs early, and you just buy back. You're a support. You don't give a shit. You just bought 4 seconds for your team to like finish Roche or to like get out, depending like where you are in Roche. You know, you buy back whatever. It should have worked. Swap Medusa and Pudge around. Medusa won't get bashed. You'd finish Roche. All in all, you know, you're good to go. Last game we're going to talk about, this is a Herald to Guardian 5-stack. Love this ranked games, right? You get all sorts of fun stuff. Now, you were asking about your team getting Roche and then throwing on the high ground against Medusa around like the 40-plus minute mark. How do you like do that? We could talk about that, but it's not really the focus of this video. I will try to answer your question later, like off of this. But I don't want to talk about that because it's not the focus of this video. Okay, you know what? We are going to answer it real quick. So I see Wind Ranger up here splitting, and then your team decides to like go in. Just keep in mind, this is geometry, right? For an enemy team split up in their own base, it's faster for them to go from here to here than it is for your team to go from here around here, right? There's simply more distance that needs to be covered. So although it's possible, there's risk to it. If you can't find a good opportunity, just keep farming way more than they are, right? If they can't leave their base, this whole map is yours. So you've got fairly decent vision set up. Just wait for one of them to wander out, smoke, kill them. If you do want to try to force a push, so CK should be the only one moving up. Look at you all standing so close, right? Right in range to all be smoke screened, right? All be cast, hit by like every single AoE spell. For what? To beat the shit out of some creeps close up. No need. Let CK beat him up on his own. So CK should be up here. You all just like sit behind him. Nice Talker, doing a great job. Keep it up, buddy. The rest of you further back. This ward, good. Just let CK. Okay, so this backup, now we're good again. Everyone stay back like this. Don't walk up like this. We got hit by stuff like that. What are we accomplishing up here? Is the support undying? Nothing. So stay back here. Throw out Tombstone when they go on CK. Just let CK hit this building. Chip at it. When things start to get dicey, fall back. Just rinse and repeat, right? 200 damage, 400 damage. You know, if you do a couple hundred damage every wave because you're hitting like 3 times with CK and he's got like an AC and echo, all of that. Just hit it a couple times, back off. This tower will start to get whittled down. If you want, and Wind Ranger's here as well, right? Wind Ranger could possibly poke from the top while CK pokes from the bottom. Both move up and move down together, but CK with the Aegis is a little safer. So you guys just end up, from this, then decide to like overcommit, but they have all this great stuff, and like, Wind Ranger's not actually that amazing at taking buildings with this build. This is like a very defensive, utility annoying build with some magic damage, but not like a building killer build. So her split pushing to like rat doesn't really quite work. I'd rather you all like 5-man together. So wasn't going to answer that, but then we did. So that's all. Instead, what I want to use this video or this game as an example of is that your team actually has the potential to do Rosh pretty early. That might surprise some of you, but Slardar with a negative armor is fantastic. Tombstone, great way to take up Rosh's time so that your team can do damage without being absolutely destroyed, plus the ult to amplify the damage he takes. Night Stalker is a vision monster around Roshan because he can actually see through the pit once you ult. Wind Ranger, there's a core Wind Ranger with Focus Fire, tons of damage to Roshan. CK has a little bit of negative armor as well. Sorry, I'm pointing at the wrong one. Reality Rift has the negative armor. So your team actually has the potential to do Roshan, I would say, now. Of course, we still have to run the risk, like, is the enemy going to stop us? So what I want to show is a couple instances in the early game where you had the potential to win a fight and then go do Rosh. And although that doesn't answer your high ground question, I mean, the sooner you take Rosh and like the better fights you have and the money from Rosh and all that, you're just stronger such that maybe you don't end up in a late game scenario with Medusa, you just snowball further and you're winning by like 30, 35 minutes. So first is this tower defense you guys try. I think this is your first chance to get up here as a team and then go to Rosh. You ultimately lose this fight, so that's what I want to talk about a little bit, even though it's not quite Rosh related, but I just want to show you like a hypothetical world where you guys do this. So these two heroes are about to finish the bottom tower, and then everyone can TP up here, right? You cannot walk out here like this against a Riki. Against Invis heroes, take this with a grain of salt, but like if you can't see them, assume they are right next to you. How should you act, right? Obviously, they are not going to be all over the map, and there are ways to predict, even though you can't see the Invis hero, where they are. But if it's been a little bit, you haven't seen them like showing the bottom half of the map, stuff like that. If I don't see him, he's right here. If I'm you, he's right here. He's right here. He's everywhere. He knows exactly where I am, trying to sneak away, right? Especially anything that involves like, oh, they better not see me for this to work, right? Invis hero, I don't know where he is. He sees me. How will I react? Will I still try this? No, I will not. So then I'm not going to risk it. Same with Wind Ranger. Like, oh, should I pop out through here? Assume there is a Riki here. That kind of thing. So because of this, Riki is actually back here, and you get caught, and you get smoke clouded. Unfortunately, you're not able to get off anything besides your ult. Tombstone, getting down those stacks right now would be great. You should have just been under the tower. Your team should be like killing the Spirit Breaker for charging too hard. Or as a 5-man team, you push them away from your tower and then potentially just go Rosh if you manage to pick up a kill or two. But because of this fight, ends up pretty sporadic. Their team actually ends up taking this fight, even though I don't think they should have. I think your team could have 5-manned it a little smoother than they did. So even though this is not quite, Roche related, I think many people would not see this as an instance that this could have led to Roche. And a high-level team, it would have. Assuming, like, it's not so easy to say, like, simply win the fight, top, But, like, this is one of those cases where, like, if you win the fight top, I want you all to be able to recognize, okay, what do we need to do Roche, right? Did we win that fight and we didn't even use Tombstone and I still have like 20 seconds on my ult left, Do we still have Focus Fire? Yes, no. We have Slaughter ult, that's very low cooldown. So like, depending how this fight goes, or maybe it's not even a huge fight, but you win a small skirmish with like 3 heroes and you kill 2 heroes somehow. And you're like, we didn't use that much. We just killed 2 heroes. Can like Wind Ranger and CK TP up here. Can we do Rosh real quick? This is, one of those early game instances where you could grab Rosh and then you have 5 minutes where you're just really powerful. They can't really fight you, So you could imagine snowballing the game from there. Jumping ahead about a minute, your team's actually all top again, which, unless you're going to do Rosh, is actually not good to do. Many of you like TP'd up here. Probably some heroes, like the farming one, should have like walked down here and then just TP top as needed. But if the play is to go for like a top play and then into Rosh, I'm open to it, So your team's up here. This could be like, oh, let's smoke with like Night Stalker ult coming up here in like 20 seconds. This is why I'm saying like you're just a little too soon to all do this, right? You could farm a little more efficiently and then come up here. But this could work out. Just haven't seen the enemy for a little bit now, and that's kind of making me a bit nervous. A lot of you showing up here, so if you want to make this play, you just want like one hero to push top so you can surprise them with the other heroes. The question is, did we really need these 3 heroes to beat the shit out of some creeps in the lane, right? Probably not. One hero could have beat the shit out of those creeps, while the other 2 heroes beat the shit out of the neutral creeps. That still gets farm for everyone, and it keeps it keeps 2 heroes out of sight of the enemy. No offense, this is Herald to Guardian, so like that's not the most important thing to think about. But for like Legend, Ancient up, you really need to start thinking about what information you're giving to the enemy. Because if I'm the enemy, I just saw 3 heroes up here, and I'm thinking like they're trying to do something, or maybe they're thinking about Rosh. How do I dissuade them from doing that? I shove this in and threaten 2 tier 2 towers, or maybe we just set up and we feel we can fight, Herald to Guardian, they may not have been looking up here. You might still be good, but it's still tactically not the right thing to do. So I just want to mention that. Okay, Wind Ranger did end up TPing down here. So this is an issue because she has the DD and the focus fire. That is a ton of damage towards a Rosh. She's also the mid hero. This is why I was saying, like, we want to walk down here like some of the heroes. So she could have walked here, for example, then TP top after you guys get a pick off, and then just like focus fire Rosh. Fantastic. Finish the Maelstrom, jump up here with the TP. But she is TP'd away from you, so that kind of actually like closes off Rosh for about 40 seconds. That's how much time it would take for her to like clear bot and then like run up here. So actually at this point, Rosh is now like, it would take all 4 of you, and it's just a little sus, right? Just like 1 hero showing bottom, 4 heroes showing top, and then suddenly they're not at the tower. They're not anywhere here, right? Like, where'd they go, right? So at that point, it's, 4-man cast kind of deal. It's like, oh, throw. So I am not feeling so good about it anymore, but we'll go a little further. You guys are pushing this tower, so what's the plan? If we do want to do Rosh, I'd love a ward on this cliff. I'd love to take this tower first to remove one of the teleports from the enemy. Let's all secure this tower. Wait for Wind Ranger. Oh, you know what? Okay, someone needs to deal with this. Wind Ranger did it. She killed it. Give her the 30 seconds she needs to walk here, right? So we'll take this tower. We set up. Once Wind Ranger gets closer, let's see. Let's keep our eyes on the minimap. If still no one has showed, we will group move, like maybe into here to clear this area out. Or maybe at that time, some people have showed in the bottom and the mid, and then we know, you know what? Let's not go further. Let's just run straight into Rosh, have 1 hero stand outside to break smokes. Maybe this Night Stalker with his increased night vision. You'll see people way before they see him. Fantastic. So here's the tower attempt. There we go. Got a tower. Haven't really been stopped. But I see multiple heroes up here, so I can't just walk into Rosh, even though Wind Ranger is making her way back to us. You guys are kind of going further for this. It looks like don't have our Wind Ranger. So I would try to get a ward up on here. I don't know. Yeah, you have one. I'd be willing to commit the ward here and actually just kind of like wait in the area a little bit. You only need to wait like 10, 15 seconds. It's going to be a little suboptimal because you have so many heroes up here. But like you guys are kind of like chasing and starting. So all of this is without your nearly 6k Wind Ranger, right? This is a fairly even game, but when you take out one of your heroes, like you're pretty behind, right? So I'm pretty sure this fight still goes in your favor. If I look through this real quickly, right? You save your Slardar. This Tombstone no one's dealing with, so there's like infinite zombies right now. Look at this. This is actually working out really well, right? And we did lose Slardar. That's unfortunate. I'd say it's still possible. This focus fire, overkill. Sorry to pick on the Wind Ranger, you know, it's just one instance, so I don't mean to, you know, but like if we just kill Ricky, we still have focus fire, double damage rune. Slardar died, unfortunate. His ult was really good for this. Tombstone was used, unfortunate, but remember we were saying like, oh, maybe we still have some Flesh Golem time. You still do. Flesh Golem will still provide damage amp. Just don't get slammed by Roche. Let someone else tank the hits. Let him body slam and then like walk in, hit him once, step out. You know, you'll also heal because Ring of Health is actually not the build, my friend, but like it will help you heal up in this particular case. So it's gonna kind of work out. Night Stalker and CK can tank. CK has the negative armor. So if you had focus fire on this double damage rune, I would say you could 100% do this. Can you do it without focus fire? Potentially. You killed 5 heroes. It's just gonna be slow. So I don't know if you can do it without the focus fire. So this is another instance though where I know in many like Crusader and lower games, people aren't even thinking about Roche. They don't think about Roche until this tower is dead, and then they're like getting up to here and they go, wait, this is hard. There's something else. Then they think to go do Roche, and they just walk straight there. They don't do any of the setup. If you want more information on that, there's a video about taking Roche before the tier 2 towers even. And that's kind of the situation you're at. You took all the tier 1s. Instead of taking tier 2s off this fight, you could do Roshan. So this is another instance, even though it's not like directly involved in Roshan, I did want to highlight this as a case of where you can do it earlier. You can start getting an advantage for your team quite quickly, and your games are just easier from there, right? Because like, let's say Roche wouldn't have usually been taken by 30 minutes. This is essentially an extra Roche for free, assuming your team gets the next Roche and the enemy team doesn't take it, in which case, you know, you're getting into messy stuff, but you're just getting more from the Roche, right? You're also getting a shard. Later on, you're getting like the cheese, the refresher, the axe, because we're picking it up earlier. And it should be easier to pick up the next one because we're picking up the first one early and we're building a lead off of that. So that is it. This video is going to get quite long. I don't know. Hopefully it'll condense down a little bit with some editing. But hopefully you found that helpful, talking through some of these Roshan setups, decisions. We can do more, right? Every game is unique, so we can go back to high ground discussions, more Roche, or move into other ideas. Submit your games. I think let's make this a weekly thing. So go ahead and submit your match IDs. I don't know what I'm gonna look for yet. We might just like do stuff. So for this next one, I have nothing in plan. Submit match IDs. Let me know who you are. Timestamp them. That helps me a lot with your particular decision-making questions, and then I can provide direct feedback. We'll pick a couple off of that. We'll think of a topic for the one after. You guys can let me know in the comments as well with your match IDs. If you have specific topics, throw them in there. Let me know. But yeah, check out the channel for other videos like this. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.